Well, Mountaineer Nation, it feels pretty good to be 1-0 after week one for the first time in 5 seasons. After West Virginia beats Robert Morris 45-3 on opening day. I'm Carson Fox, and thanks for tuning in to this post-game recap of West Virginia, Robert Morris. It looked ugly at times. It looked really great at times. So that's why I guess to kick off this show, because I don't really need to necessarily, I feel like, go through a recap of the game progression. But where I kind of want to start off is, I guess, if I'm giving a grade to lead this show off, if this is kind of all you listen to for this show, I'm going to give somewhere around a B+. The team hit right where I thought they would with my pregame prediction. I said 42-0 in the preview show, and they come out winning 45-3. So you would think, man, if you hit your prediction, that would be deserved of an A grade. But I cannot go with an A grade simply because of the turnovers and the penalties. And I think that's kind of where I want to start with this game. Thinking about the end result and where the final score was, I think this was a game in which West Virginia could have definitely scored another touchdown, maybe even two more, to get somewhere in the ballpark of like 59-3 if they really wanted to, just because that was a really, really bad Robert Morris team. I mean, there were very few glimmers of hope that I feel like I can take from that RMU game. Just getting totally defeated, I feel like, in many phases of the ball. I know that the announcing crew on ESPN Plus were trying to come up with some sort of silver linings for RMU by game's end, but West Virginia just kind of, I feel like, played that like a boxing match, and in the fourth quarter the 10th round, if you want to call it like that, to the boxing match, just drilling knockout punch after knockout punch to RMU to make it even, pour salt in the wound, I feel like. But this was not a game in which I feel as if WVU really ran up the score. It was just West Virginia's second and third strings were miles ahead of where, even more so than Robert Morris's starters were ahead of where, West Virginia's, we're behind where West Virginia's second and third team. And a lot of players got to play in this contest. We got to see three different quarterbacks. Or four even. I think Khalil Wilkins do have stats record. I don't remember seeing him specifically, but awesome. Where I think I will start for this performance with the positive, and I'll come back to that and put a pin in it, the negative about the turnovers and the penalties, was this defense. Oh my gosh, the defense, there were some things to clean up, definitely, like the holding call against Michael Coates. I didn't necessarily like that. Some procedural or extracurricular stuff that I think that could have been called. But when you're going that fast, that strong, with that much energy, it just, bound, this was a preseason game for West Virginia. Being able to take out all of that emotion and anger from a really hard-edge preseason camp and taking it out their will on the opponent. And they did so, holding RMU to just 123 total offensive yards for the day. Zach Tanner, the RMU quarterback, just had nowhere to throw, it seemed like, at any point in time, having to backtrack into the near the sidelines for help, sacked 4 times in this contest, and there wasn't really much of anywhere to run for RMU's running backs. The leading rusher for the day for the Colonials only got Ethan Shine up to 20 yards. He had a first down run long for 11 yards on the day, but for the most part, West Virginia's linebackers, defensive linemen were absolutely fantastic on the day. Chase Wilson leading the team with 6 tackles, also had a sack and a tackle for loss, a forced fumble, and a QB hurry. I thought in the first corner, Braden Siders was everywhere, attacking RMU at will. Hammond Russell in the middle of the game. Fred Perry coming up with big tackles. Reed Carrico having a fumble recovery when West Virginia needed a momentum shift. Just like I said when we were previewing this game and preseason videos in the month of August, I thought that West Virginia did a phenomenal job this offseason in replenishing the depth. So again, while West Virginia might not have some of these top end starters that you're seeing across ranked teams across the country, if you're watching other college football games this weekend, West Virginia has 2s and 3s that they can shift in, shift out to like hockey changes, lineup changes, to get guys fresh. So whenever they're out on the field, they're able to give it 100% go. And I love that. I love that West Virginia is able to do that. And against, again, an opponent, an FCS opponent like Robert Morris, which did not, had a lot of new faces on both sides of the ball, West Virginia was able to take advantage. 2 takeaways in this contest. That's, I think, one of Zach Alley's goals is to get to 3 per game. If West Virginia can do that, my goodness, that would be phenomenal to be able to come up with three turnovers in a single contest. But for today, I thought just the pass rush was there. I thought keeping everything contained, not letting players get to the outside in the run game, and they didn't really have anything up the middle that they were bursting through into the second and third levels to have doubles and potentially turn into home runs. And no deep ball, no chicken shit as I called it, throws up to wide receivers that they were somehow able to come up with. Why the game was so close, now let's go kind of on the negative side in the first half, because as I mentioned in the preview show, wasn't able to attend this game in person, wasn't able to watch it live with my daughter's little first birthday yesterday afternoon, but was able to catch the recap. Awesome showing by Mountaineer Nation. I thought the stands looked pretty packed. Beautiful day. Again, head coach Rich Rodriguez's first game back as head coach, and then all of these new faces, so that the crowd was amped, ready to go. And on West Virginia's first offensive series, they looked as good as advertised, or the potential was there for them. But then I think it hit the second drive or the third drive when Justin Smith-Brown on a jet sweep fumbled, lost 10 yards of field position. West Virginia wasn't able to capitalize with a first down, and then that kind of snowballed, I feel like. So 4 turnovers that we got to talk about in today's from today's game. Orion Singleton having one of them. I feel like Grayson Barnes' one was the one where the crowd started to feel a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit frustrated, a little bit angsty. But when West Virginia wasn't turning the ball over, they looked really good. I thought Nico Marchiol, even though ESPN gave him only a 60 QBR, 62 QBR rating, I thought he was excellent. 224 yards in this game. Also had the long 46-yard touchdown completion to Cam Vaughn, getting the ball out of his hands quick, also rushing for 56 yards on the day on 13 carries with a touchdown. I don't think there was anything that, given the way Jalen Henderson performed, which was also really good, even though he had 2 incompletions, 2 catchable balls that receivers just did not help him out in this contest. Henderson also having 2 carries for 40 yards in this game, and showed the part and had his speed. But I thought both quarterbacks played well, and then maybe Scotty Fox had the most whoa moment of the day when he scampered down the sidelines, 59-yard touchdown rush late into the game to cap off West Virginia's last touchdown of the day with 45 points. So I thought Nico played excellent. I thought Jalen Henderson looked really good, and Scotty Fox coming out of nowhere, I think making it almost, maybe he's jumping Khalil Wilkins, as we're saying. And then obviously availability is the most important thing for a player on a team. So with the shoulder injury apparently that Max Brown sustained during practice this past week or preseason camp, he wasn't able to go. So has Scotty Fox, with the high praise that he's gotten from Rich Rodriguez, has he perhaps maybe played his way into a third string capacity for this program, and maybe this is the first game of the future at the quarterback position once Nico Marchiol graduates or goes off to the NFL draft, whatever comes first. So from a quarterback standpoint, I was impressed. Next, kind of where I want to go is, it was the best of times, the worst of times, I feel like, for Cam Vaughn in this game. Looked just as good as Hudson Clement, kind of in that wide receiver one. And we saw it roll, and we saw how Hudson Clement really didn't do much for Illinois in their game this weekend. But Cam Vaughn looked great. Has the speed, has the size, maybe not the weight. I want to see how he does before I anoint him as like the next great one in West Virginia receiving lore, until he goes against some defensive backs that can press him at the line of scrimmage. How does he get off and release? How does he fight them in, kind of one-on-one? I think that Pitt game in a couple of weeks will really tell the tale. How good of a how high of a ceiling can Cam Vaughn have for West Virginia's offense? But man, caught all the balls thrown to him. Just what the one that, like, oh man, you're really, really upset is when he had the fumble. Hurdles a defender down the sidelines. West Virginia's in RMU's 10-yard line, something like that, but the ball punched free out of his hand into the end zone. Just hope that is really, now almost 11 minutes into this video, I hope that is the takeaway from this game, that Coach Rod and the coaching staff can get on these offensive players this upcoming week in practice and moving forward, because that is going to potentially derail you in these Big 12 games that we know come down to the wire. I think West Virginia had the tempo. I was really impressed with that. Again, I was not a fan during the Neal Brown era of seeing the window dressing, the multiple players going in motion, using 35 seconds worth of pre-snap clock, instead going fast. And it looked similarly, I feel like, to what West Virginia of old used to look like, especially under Dana Holgorsen, and then also under Rich Rodriguez the first time. So 76 plays on the day, where again, not only the fumbles, that just turning the ball over 4 times is unacceptable. Again, you can get away with it against an FCS opponent as bad as Robert Morris, or even someone else goes out there and has 4 turnovers on the day, but that's just not going to cut it. And then when you combine that with 9 penalties on the day, I think Walter Young-Bear got hit with both a false start and an illegal man downfield on a screen pass play. Just some things here and there that I really think that West Virginia needed to clean up. And that's what kind of I was saying in the preview show, is how messy, how sloppy really is it. Parlaying that, I think that into the next talking point about Jaheim White. I thought Jaheim White did have a really good day. I can't say an excellent, great day, even though you look at the final stats, 18 for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Had a long of 19 on the day, and I think that happened in the first quarter. And I don't really put this, I don't put the majority of this, I feel like, on Jaheim White. I think it's 60-40. The line was good, and then the line was bad. Did give up a sack to Robert Morris. I thought, whoa, that was maybe the one position of semi-decent strength for Robert Morris coming into this game, with a couple of returnees from last year's squad were able to get to Nico Marchiol for a sack. So in pass protection, I think that's something that West Virginia needs to clean up from their starters. And then just secondly, there were times when the offensive line push up front was really good, and I think that's where you got to see Jaheim White chug upwards of 6, 7, 9 yards per carry. Was awesome. That's what he can do for you with this added weight that he's put on, the attention to detail in the offseason that he had. I'm going to be RB number 1. If I'm going to carry close to 20 carries per game, I got to put on this weight. I got to be able to take this pounding for this season, and that's where I was really impressive. He looked like a guy who could take over 200 touches for this, and I think that's going to be a focal point, because we didn't see Dior Hubbard in this game. I wonder if there was anything there as relates to injury. Where I guess Jaheim White, where I can't give him an A+ grade for this contest, is I think where there were some opportunities that he broke through into the second level, he was just getting clipped by his heels, or just an arm tackle hit him just awkwardly as he was falling forward. I think there were some carries in this game that if you ask Jaheim White afterwards, or he's going to watch the film, he's just going to be like, ticked off at himself, slapping his leg, thinking like, that was my opportunity, that I could have potentially hit a home run there. That if he can just break another tackle or two. And again, he was awesome and did a lot of that in between the tackles in this game, which I was really impressed by. But whenever he was, either mano-a-mano with another guy, or a guy coming out of nowhere trying to make just like a last-second thrust at him, he got knocked down. So I think we didn't see. And you know what? Where I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on some of those things is I do think that West Virginia made this very vanilla. I kind of called that in the preview show, is I thought that there would just be a lot of zone read runs, a lot of inside zone, outside zone, that kind of stuff. We didn't see when Nico Marchiol kind of keeping it himself, and whenever he did some of those quarterback keepers that he had success on this day, getting for first downs. Did have the first rushing touchdown of the day. That was really pretty. So 53 times West Virginia ran the ball to 23 pass attempts. So about 2/3 of the time, West Virginia was running the ball and didn't do anything super exotic that I'm like, ooh, I don't want to see West Virginia do that to give that away potentially to Ohio, Pitt, Kansas, West Virginia's upcoming 3 opponents. So I think it was pretty base offense. I did like when, again, things were feeling a little bit antsy, a little bit uncomfortable on the scoreboard right there before, halftime, bam. Or right after halftime, Nico Marchiol takes a shot there in the third quarter. Bam, came away with kind of that, okay, we can take a little bit of a sigh of relief that West Virginia is going to win this game. It's just not, or by how much. Sticking with the running back department, again, where I liked what Jaheim White did. I really do. Showing all of those signs that he's going to be able to take the majority of carries, be this starter that we're all expecting him to have his best season yet as a Mountaineer, along Nico Marchiol in the backfield. Where I think I was really impressed by was Sincere Bowers. I know Clay Ash was kind of second in the batting order, getting carries behind Jaheim White throughout the middle quarters of this game. But then, man, once Sincere Bowers got into the game, he just had that element, that speed element, that he almost looked a step faster than Jaheim White. Getting to the outside, did have a rushing touchdown for his own right. 6 carries, 54 yards. That's a 9-yard clip. Had the 26-yard touchdown rush looked further than it really was. I mean, he got up to the outside, made a man miss, and got in between in space, good vision, and was able to score. So, man, I think Sincere Bowers, after this performance, earned himself some carries next week against Ohio. If, again, Ty Edwards getting slowly inserted back into the offense, and I don't know what's going on with Dior Hubbard right now. Maybe we'll get that this week in Rich Rodriguez's press conference to see kind of like what's going on with him from a health perspective, if that's the reason why he didn't play. So, tried to do some exotic things. Out of the jet sweeps, Justin Smith-Brown fumbled, Warren Singleton fumbled. So I gotta say, I want to see West Virginia, vary it up from a rushing standpoint. That if you're you got to be a little more exotic and a little less predictable against some better opponents. Or I'm telling you, Pitt will try and swallow that up with those linebackers that they have in a couple of weeks. So I think getting Bowers involved a little bit more. Didn't see the trademark Rodney Gallagher jet sweep, but maybe that's how he can potentially get involved moving forward. Didn't have a catch in this contest, so not too much from Rodney Gallagher in this contest. So loved what I saw from Cam Vaughn in the big 46-yard touchdown bomb. The curl routes that he was able to get past the defender to the outside and good speed the other way. If he can just stay mentally in a game, not get too high, not get too low. Thankfully, he didn't let that fumble really throw him off for this contest. I thought Jaden Bray looked really good as a wide receiver, too. All 3 targets that he received had for catches, long of 11 on this game. So, like that from a possession receiver standpoint. I just think that West Virginia is still trying to figure it out there. Who is the other guy? I like what I see out of Jaden Bray, and if it wouldn't have been for the frickin' fumble on Grayson Barnes, he had 3 catches for 37 yards, and I think that's right around where we should expect for Grayson Barnes for the season. Is if he can average 3 catches per game all season, he'll have the most receptions by a tight end in a single season by Rich Rodriguez head coach team. So if he can be utilized as a third or fourth receiving option for this team, then that would be great. But still, don't think we have too much from this game to take away from the receivers. Ultimately, I just think that West Virginia needs to clean up the penalties as best as they can. Clean up the fumbles. Hold that. I'm sure the guys who fumbled, the team. I'm sure the coaching staff and other teammates are going to be trying to punch the ball out of them. They're going to be having to hold it to class and workouts and all those things to not be fumbling anymore for the rest of the season. And then defensively, that was all she wrote. That was beautiful of a performance against a really bad offense. And then in the special teams area, hey, how about that? Cade Hensley coming through with a field goal of his own. 27-yarder, short kick, but still nailing it through, nailing all of his extra points. And then, I don't know what much more I can say about Preston Fox and how good of a returner he is for this team. Had a 28-yard punt return on the day, had a 36-yard kickoff return on the day. Just keep him healthy. Don't let him suffer any more concussions. Again, if he's going to be sparingly used out at the wide receiver position, that's awesome. If he's going to touch the ball somewhere of a half dozen times in special teams, man, he's awesome. I think he's one of the best in the country, fifth-year senior. That's what he can do for West Virginia. Oliver Straw only had 3 punts on this day, had a long of 42, one inside the 20, one he shanked for 33 yards. So hope he gets more opportunities to show off his capabilities, because I don't think he was really happy with himself after that one shanked kick. And then just overall from the day, I thought the effort was there, and intangibly, I thought the coaching was getting so many players involved. That's what you want to do against an FCS opponent. Rotations were pretty good. Like I said, I wasn't able to see so much of a drop off from one wave of different player from another on all sides of the ball. And if they can just clean some of those things up into the next week against Ohio, I'm feeling pretty good about where I was with my preseason prediction in West Virginia, coming off and maybe starting off this season 4-0. Because if they're going to, it's like one of those things, it's a numbers game. If they can keep that kind of tempo, keep that kind of pace, not get derailed by penalties, not get derailed by turnovers, the complete volume of what West Virginia is going to have is going to end up, this is where I got so angry sometimes in the way that Neil Brown would coach a game, is just how slow that he would go on games, limited the number of opportunities for players to put up statistics to then put up points. So that's where, from this, you talk about Rich Rodriguez's system, is it's built for this. It's built to potentially score, upwards of 40 points per game, depending upon the push up front. So I'm not gonna, go really. I think I'm gonna kind of stay average. I'm gonna stay kind of neutral on this offensive line performance. Good, but not great. So I think that's where they still have more to improve in next week against Ohio. Like I said last year with West Virginia basketball, West Virginia opened up with a really easy victory in basketball, then played a UMass team that was okay, these guys know how to play. This is a bit more of a challenge. Then they ran into Pitt in basketball on the road, and we all know how that worked out. But I'm hoping that this is this 2-game preseason that West Virginia, and I know I say that in air quotes, with Ohio playing very well, only losing by 3 this past week to Rutgers, but still a G5 opponent. It is on the road, so I get the understanding, seeing that Ohio's still already just a 3.5 point dog at home. But I think this is where West Virginia's offensive line needs a bit of a tougher test. to be able to prove it then as we get into the stretch of against Power 4 competition, to just really show that. And then maybe, like I said, over the summer, how does that then potentially affect Nico Marchiol in the passing game? Because 20 attempts per game, kind of looking at what he did against Arizona, which I think was his best performance last year, I think this is kind of where, in a perfect world for head coach Rich Rodriguez, this is kind of, high completion percentage for Nico Marchiol, decent yards per average, 1 or 2 big bomb completions, does have a touchdown, he's involved into the run game. This is the way Rodriguez wants to win a ball game. So we'll have to see if it has to diversify as an offense, given if West Virginia is just not getting that push up front that it needs to run the ball. Will he, shift? Will he call more audibles, change his game plan? And then that's where I think we can better evaluate this receiving core. Are they up for the task? Or right now, are they just dealing with Cam Vaughn and Jaden Bray, and they still don't know what to, kind of make of everybody else on this roster? Because it was pretty slow day in that regard. But you didn't have to. Again, you can't really judge it very accurately against Robert Morris, because you didn't need to do anything wild, anything too creative. Open up the Rolodex, get deep into the playbook in the calls for this game. So the effort was there, great atmosphere. Didn't get down after probably a very frustrating first. I think especially for the defense, like thinking, man, we're really playing our tails off offense. You're holding us back here, and like you're looking at the offense like, it's not me, it's not Jaheim White, it's not Nico Marchiol. Just like the fumbles, man, just clean up the fumbles, and you correct a whole lot of issues for this game. So that's why I can't necessarily go for an A grade. So I'm happy again starting off the year 1-0. Get that out of the, get that over with, turn the page quickly, have some things to work on in practice, get better, clean up. How do you feel about it, Mountaineer Nation? Love to know your comments here on YouTube. Please like this video so more Mountaineer fans can see it. If you've liked it, love to have you a subscriber to my channel, and tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog that I do this each and every week and have a lot of fun doing it. And I'm glad that for Mountaineer Nation's sake, after that very long off season with so much turnover in the transfer portal, that, man, okay, now we've finally seen these guys. We have a team. We have a depth chart. We understand kind of, everybody's role. It's not so shrouded in secrecy anymore. Like, West Virginia is a fully capable football team. Now let's see them. People always say from week 1 to week 2 is where you make your greatest strides. And against a team that's not going to give up, that's going to play them hard at home. So next week is going to be a fun one down in Athens, Ohio. So I'll bring that to you later this upcoming week for the preview show on Friday. Maybe do something in the middle of the week to talk about somebody specific. We'll see how it goes. But thanks for tuning in. Let's go Mountaineers. Hail West Virginia, and spot that ball, baby.